The UFC is back to mark its first event of 2024 this weekend with UFC Vegas 84. That card is headlined by Magomed Ankalaev as he takes on Johnny Walker in a rematch of a fight that took place back in October and was stopped due to a miscommunication between Johnny Walker and the ringside physician, which caused the fight to be a no contest. The UFC has decided to match up these light heavyweights once again this weekend and tack on an extra 2 rounds if that's what it's required to settle the score. In the co-main event, the rematch theme sticks true as Nicolau takes on Kape as a rematch of a fight that actually took place back in 2021, where Nicolau got his hand raised by a razor-close decision victory. Kape is riding a winning streak at this point in time and looks to avenge that loss and continue his march towards a flyweight title shot. Reminder that this is the quick picks version of the UFC Vegas 84 breakdowns. If you are looking for the full breakdown where I go close to 45 minutes on all of these matchups, check the link in the description below or the little bumper sticker thingamajig that you'll see at the top here, whatever YouTube calls it. You can click that link as well. Quick plug before we get into the quick picks. The MMA Fight Archive. There's a 7-day free trial for you guys to try it out for free if you like doing your own researching and like to look into fights yourself. This service ensures you leave no stone unturned, so you can go out there and research all of these upcoming matchups, not just for the UFC, but for PFL and a ton of these other regional promotions. And for 2024, we have added Octagon MMA, we've added Risen and Brave FC or CF, whatever they're going with. So you have even more promotions. We have cappers, analysts, coaches, fighters, all using this service. You can try it out for free. Like I said, 7-day free trial. Link for that is in the description below. Hope you are laced up and ready to go because we are off and running with the first fight of the night. We got Joshua Van taking on Felipe Bunes, and Van is making a quick turnaround here after picking up a victory back in November over Kevin Borjas. Joshua Van is a very talented striker who likes to use his speed, footwork, and combinations to touch up his opponents. I think that will reign true once again this weekend as he goes out there and defeats the UFC debutant Felipe Bunes, as Van will be the better striker, and I think his takedown defense and ability to stay upright will allow him to keep this fight in a place where he feels most comfortable. Give me Van and Van by decision. Next up, we got Nicolas Motta taking on Tom Nolan. Motta is looking to snap a unfortunate run that he's currently on with his heavy power. Unfortunately for him, I think the size and strength advantage of Tom Nolan will end up being too much for him. Nolan will have a 6-inch reach advantage where he should be able to touch up Motta from distance, and whenever Motta tries to crash that pocket, Nolan will have a beautiful elbow waiting for him to meet him and possibly knock him out. Although the line is a little bit too wide for the UFC newcomer, I still believe that Nolan should have the power and durability advantage to put Nicolas Motta out. Give me Nolan and Nolan inside the distance. Next up, we got Gene Silva taking on Weston Wilson. This is a very lopsided matchup with Silva coming in as a minus 800 favorite, and even his round 1 prop currently sits around that minus 150 range. I believe this is a fight that Gene Silva can make short work of the Walmart version of Wonderboy Thompson, and Gene Silva should be able to land that knockout within the first 5 minutes of this fight. Give me Silva and Silva inside the distance. Next up, we got Farid Basharat going up against Taylor Lapilus. Very fun fight here, even though you have Basharat as a chalky favorite. I do believe he is still the more complete fighter, and I think his grappling advantage here over Taylor Lapilus will allow him to stay ahead of Lapilus in this fight. I think Basharat can stay competitive in the striking realm where Lapilus is normally great. But I think Basharat can exchange with him and eventually change levels, taking this fight to the ground where you have superior control and the ability to grind out Lapilus from that top position. Give me Basharat by decision. Next up, we got Marcus McGhee taking on Gaston Bolanos in a fight that is surely to deliver on fireworks. McGhee is a power puncher and he's made short work of his first 2 UFC fights, but I think that he's in some trouble here against Bolanos, who comes in as a near plus 200 underdog. I think Bolanos is a technically better striker, and I believe he'll be able to make McGhee pay for a lot of the shots that he'll be overextending on, and Bolanos should be able to catch him more often than not. But I think that he'll take a technical and disciplined approach here to touch up the power puncher, landing the more damage, and eventually winning this fight by decision. Give me the dog Bolanos. Next up, we got Matthew Semelsberger taking on Preston Parsons. Semelsberger is looking to avoid a 3-fight losing streak, whereas Parsons is looking to go out there and pick up a win after coming up short against Trevin Giles in his last matchup. I fully expect Parsons to be successful, similarly to what Jeremiah Wells was able to do against Semelsberger, and as long as Parsons can deal with the heavy punching power of Semelsberger, who has 10 knockdowns in 10 UFC fights, I expect Parsons to drag this fight to the ground and grind out Semelsberger from that top position, winning this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got heavyweights throwing down between Andre Arlovski, who comes into his 57th professional fight and 41st in his UFC career. He takes on Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who's looking to build upon his victory over Lucas Dresky. I expect this fight to be a competitive striking battle, and that makes it a little bit difficult to be fully trusting of Cortes-Acosta as a -600 favorite. What I do like the most in this fight is it to go over 7.5 minutes, as I expect Cortes-Acosta to utilize his jab and use a tepid approach to touch up Arlovski from distance. I still expect Cortes-Acosta to do the majority of damage in this matchup and utilize a higher volume style, which will ultimately get him the victory on the judges' scorecards. Give me Cortes-Acosta by decision. Moving over to the main card, we have a banger middleweight matchup to kick things off between Phil Hawes and Bruno Ferreira. Phil Hawes, obviously a very solid fighter for the first 2 to 3 minutes of fights, utilizing his newly improved striking style with his speed, power, and agility to touch up his opponents. But unfortunately, if he's unable to get him out of there quickly, he falls victim to the durability issues that he showcased over his last couple of fights. I expect Bruno Ferreira to meet Hawes in the middle of the cage, and I expect Ferreira to utilize his punching power to land on Hawes and knock him out. This is truly a coin flip fight, as both guys have shown durability issues in the past, and it might even come down to who ends up landing first. I think Ferreira should be able to stay safe enough if he implements a little bit of grappling, trying to push Hawes up against the cage to wear on him a bit, but I do think that Ferreira has the better chops and better chance of landing that big shot and putting Hawes out. Give me Ferreira and Ferreira by knockout. Next up, we got a bantamweight matchup between Ricky Simón and Mario Bautista. Simón had his 4-fight winning streak snap last time around in a main event slot against Song Yadong, and I expect him to get back to his winning ways by utilizing his superior wrestling to grind out Mario Bautista. Bautista is on a solid 5-fight winning streak, but he has been taking these fights and victories over lower level competition compared to what he faces this weekend. I think Simón will remind him that there is a higher level of competition waiting for him. I think Simón will be able to crash the pocket successfully here, and as long as he avoids any knees up the middle, I think that he'll be able to drag Bautista to the ground and utilize that classic Simón grind to get a decision victory. Next up, we got veterans taking center stage in the lightweight division as Jim Miller takes on Gabriel Benitez. If Miller is unable to get the finish within the first 5 minutes, I fully expect Benitez to utilize his superior technical striking to touch up Miller and utilize his kicks to keep Miller at bay, and that should be enough for him to muster up a good body of work for the judges to score it in his favor. The only thing that keeps me a little bit hesitant here is Benitez is coming off of a layoff, and there has been some issues with his durability as well. But if he can keep his fight IQ about him, utilize his technical striking advantage, he should be able to touch up Jim Miller and win this fight on the scorecards. Moving over to the co-main event, we got Matthias Nicolau going up against Manel Kape. Obviously, Nicolau holding a victory over Kape in the first meeting they had back in 2021, but it was a razor-close victory that I believe that Kape should be able to overcome this time, considering the confidence level that he has and the training he's been doing over there at Extreme Couture. I think Kape has showcased that he has better takedown defense and even better get-ups at this stage of his career, and I think that will cause Nicolau to strike more than he's comfortable with in this matchup against Kape, and I expect Kape to have the speed, striking, and power advantage to touch up Nicolau over 15 minutes and get his hand raised on the scorecards. And finally, moving over to the main event, we got Magomed Ankalaev coming in as a chalky favorite against Johnny Walker. In the 3.5 minutes that they competed back in October, we saw a tepid pace striking matchup between them before Ankalaev decided to get his grappling going with just 2 minutes into that first round. We saw him land a takedown. We saw him get some good control time up against the cage. And I think it was just going to be a rinse and repeat process for him until he was able to get Johnny Walker out of there. So I'm expecting Ankalaev to be competitive in the striking realm, staying away from the big knockout power of Walker, and that should allow him to get into the grinding, grappling style that has made him successful in past fights. But I expect Ankalaev to take his time, which is why I like the over 1.5 here around that -160 range. But I do think that Ankalaev has a chance to win this on the scorecards as a far-fetched prop. And that will ultimately be my prediction for this main event, with Ankalaev getting his hand raised by decision. There you guys go. Quick picks on this UFC Vegas 84 card. Again, later today, I got a free parlay dropping for you guys on the YouTube channel, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Tomorrow, we got the 3 best prop bets dropping. And then on Saturday, after the fight's complete, make sure you guys keep an eye out for my post-fight immediate reaction as we talk about the fights that just went down. Appreciate all the love and support. Hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys again later today for the free parlay. Peace.